further analysis, we're joined from London by the CEO of QW Capital, Gianluca Dobfello. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on the Economic Bulletin.
Thank you for having me.
First, let's start off by how do you see Russia's new 1.5% growth forecast within the context of the global economic trend? And does this signal, what does it actually signal about the long-term effects of Western sanctions on Russia?
Yes, and it's very difficult at the moment to actually measure and compute the real net impact of tariff because don't forget, in order to give some historical perspective, we talk about the Russian invasion of Ukraine happening in 2022, but we have seen 3 good years of strong performance of Russia well above global trend. As you pointed out in your presentation, around 4.1% in 2023 and 4.3% in 2024. The expectation for this year will take down from 2.5 to 1.5, but we are talking in a context of a slowdown at global level. So obviously, Russia cannot be isolated for a global trend that is affecting Western and Eastern countries. Having said that, the idea that the reason for this slowdown is that we had a big inflation issue in Russia. Russia had an interest rate that it was until June at 21%, then it was taken down to 20% and then to 18%. So even after 2 cuts of interest rate, we are 18%. Just to make a comparison, we have that in the US, the Trump administration is complaining for a 4.5, 4.25% of interest rate. So just to give you some comparison of what would be the impact on company and consumer of 18% interest rate.
Well, I mean, you said that you spoke a bit about the expectations when it comes to growth and so forth. Now, Russia's economy experienced what they called a robust growth for the last 2 years, despite Western sanctions. What factors contributed to the resilience of the Russian economy and the possibility of them withstanding these sanctions?
Yeah, because the sanctions were actually calibrated on the pre-war Russian economy. So all the sanctions were intended and tariffs were intended to the so-called oligarch or the captain, the leader of the previous Russian capitalism. So basically, the Russian industry they were linked mostly to energy. The Russian economy had been actually control has been taken to a different level from the war. So from the world, what is called the war economy. So all the company were actually being supported by defense spending. And this company haven't been directly affected. Only now start to be affected by sanctions, but haven't been up to now. So that's why paradoxically the war has supported some industry that were completely isolated by sanction, and they actually were growing because defense demand was skyrocketing because of the war with Ukraine.
Okay, now given these forecasts, do you think that this may affect the foreign investments and Russia's economic relationship with other partners like China and India? Will this help them move towards the global south more?
I mean, yes, of course, we don't forget that Russia is one of the founding part of the BRICS that are the core component of the global south, and they are clearly have a vested interest in de-dollarize the world. So transactions that are settled in ruble or in yuan instead of dollar between Russia, Saudi Arabia, China, Iran, and other countries of the global south are in favor of the Russian economy, and it's understandable that the Russian economy will push towards a de-dollarization of the world. Having said that, this is all temporary. We are only 2 weeks away, or less than a week and a half away from the Alaska summit, where there's been actually Putin didn't come out as the Western world was expecting, like on the weak side, but actually he played quite smart. It's a chess game, still just the first round. I mean, we cannot give a final and definitive judgment of what happened, but definitely Putin didn't come up as a weak side out of that meeting. So, this can have a positive impact as well on Russian economy. Still too early to say, but they can have a positive impact.
Well, now the finance minister, Solanov, has stated a balanced budget could also allow for an easing of the monetary policies. How does a balanced budget specifically enable the central bank to somehow lower interest rates?
Yes, obviously they will be on the other side. So the counterbalance of that will be increase interest, increase taxes. But don't forget that Nabulina, who is the central bank governor for the Bank of Russia, is one of the best central bank governor we have at the moment, has been in charge for a few years. She was head of the Economic Council of Putin until 2014 or 2015. She's a top class economist. So I'm pretty sure that under her leadership, the Central Bank of Russia will take the right decision. And there's been quite remarkable under a war period before then, under isolation. Frankly, we didn't see any specific extreme Russian crisis from financial side. And that is actually thanks to the strong leadership of Nabiullina, I would say.
Could we discuss the workforce here? I mean, the labor, there is a labor, obviously a big labor shortage there in Russia as well. How significant is the impact of the labor shortage on Russia's economic slowdown? And what are the primary factors driving this issue? Is it the war?
War is definitely contributing to that, but unfortunately, it's a global plug. We have the same problem in the UK, we have the same problem in the great part of the Western world. So the shortage of labor can be tackled with better immigration policy, but that's on the very short term. But on a medium term, what would be the automation. So that's why China, for example, that has the same problem on shortage of labor,
Mm.
is investing heavily in robotic. And don't forget that China is exporting up to 80% of all the robotic component coming out of China. So that's a key player, a key driving element on this.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us from London. That was the CEO of QW Capital, Gianluca Lo Fallo. Thank you so much for joining us and your insights.